Fellas, welcome back to episode 14, I believe, of the MK MMA podcast, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in last week. I hope you guys liked the content. I was trying to shove out as much as possible because it was a very exciting card to attend to watch, and UFC 323 didn't disappoint, man. There was a bunch of great fights on that card. It was just absolutely stacked to the teeth, and I had a joy watching it. Even though it didn't go my way, still had a great time watching UFC 323, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. All we're going to talk about this episode is just the reactions to the fights, and then predicting what's going to be next for the Flyweight and Bantamweight division. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Pop up the fight record right here. If you guys are new to this segment, it is just me predicting the future fights, and I'm keeping my record. Unfortunately, I went 0 for 4 this weekend. Not good at all. Not good, not great. And I am now 18-10. I was 18-6 last week, but now 18-10. I did not get anything right on the main card. It was just bad. I mean, even like to start out, Jan and Guskov drew. So like that was a bad start to the night already, and then it could have not gone worse after that, you know. Henry Cejudo lost. I took him. I thought he was going to look decent that fight and take him down, and just couldn't, you know. Moreno just got outclassed by Tatsuro Taira. It was just bad. He did not look good at all. I mean, Taira just took him down once, outstruck him by almost 40 strikes, and it was just bad. And then, you know, Pantoja broke his arm or dislocated it, and that really hurt because that was my favorite fight of the night, as I told you guys all last week. So that sucks, just seeing that fight not being able to been played out at all. And then yeah, of course, like Peter Yan just dominated Merab. So it just sucks to see, but you know, that's the way of it. So 18-10, that's how the fight game works. We're going to bounce back, and that's about it, man. So we're going to close out that segment, but you know, we'll bounce back from here, you know. So it's only up from here at this point from doing that bad. So with that being said, man, just stay at it. But yeah, so jumping into like what happened in the prelims and everything like that, just pretty crazy. Like I was really pumped about the Jalen Turner and Edson Barboza fight, and Jalen Turner just coming out of retirement and just with a big win, you know, just a big statement coming out of retirement, beating Edson Barboza and knocking him out in the first round. Dominant, insane, love to see it. You know, Marvin Vettori just kind of got outclassed. He just obviously does not look the same. I think it's almost time for his book to be closed. And yeah, there's nothing much else to really say about that. I mean, he outstruck him by 13 strikes and had the same amount of takedowns. I did not pay attention to that fight as closely because I was doing other things, but I wonder how that didn't go his way, but you know, that's just the way of the game. Terrence McKinney, unfortunately, just got submitted by Chris Duncan. Like, Terrence McKinney's a great fighter. He's awesome. He's really fun to watch, but there's just more that needs to be added to his game, in my opinion. Definitely on the ground game too, and he looked better in that fight, but just needs to work on the ground game and needs to focus on that and have that be more. He just has to focus on it at the end of the day, honestly. Performance of the night to Grant Dawson and Manuel Torres. Manuel Torres knocked him out in the first round. That is not easy to do. I can't believe Grant Dawson got chinned in that fight. That was just crazy to see. Maybe we're going to see a lot more of Manuel Torres in the future. We shall see. Going to be an interesting one to see where he goes. But yeah, that's all I got for the prelims and early prelims. That was pretty nuts. Let's just jump right into Jan and Guskov. You know, that fight was back and forth the whole time. Jan won the first round. Guskov won the second round by a landslide too. Wasn't a 10-8 though, obviously, because it was a draw. And then, I mean, I don't even know how it went into a draw. Yeah, it was back and forth the whole time, and it was super even. Yeah, but then Jan outstruck him in round 3. I don't know if they gave like round 1 a draw and then round 3 to Jan or vice versa. But I thought Jan was going to come out with a win, and it was a draw, and it was very just anticlimactic, and I was upset about that, man. It's just sucks to see how had that kicked off the main card, and it's just unfortunate. I think you need to throw those two back in to fight each other, just because there's a lot of unfinished business there, and it was a pretty intriguing fight going into the weekend. So, I mean, I think you should have him fight again and go from there. If you think that Jan should fight someone else, like more in like the top 5 range or top 7 range, then let's do that too. But I don't know. I think you should have those guys run it back since it was so even. It was on the feet the whole time too. And I think Jan should have tried to bring it to the ground more, and it's just unfortunate on his end. Like he landed no takedowns, so that was the bad thing too. Only outstruck Guskov by 2 strikes, but Guskov got 25 of those strikes back from round 2. Like he dominated in round 2. So I don't know. It's just interesting to see how that fight was a draw, but because you don't really see it that often, obviously. So. But yeah, maybe run those guys a rematch. That'd be interesting to see. Throw them on a opening on a main card again, or maybe throw them on an early prelim. I mean, sorry, not an early prelim, a prelim, like the last prelim fight going into the main card. Who knows? Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbott. Peyton Talbott looked way better that fight. Props to Henry Cejudo. Leaving it all out there. He was a warrior that night, taking on a very young, talented, high-achieving fighter. He's just been climbing up in the UFC, making his name known. He's on a 2-fight win streak now. Henry Cejudo just couldn't take him down. You could tell Cejudo looked gassed. I think his weight cutting was really a struggle for him, and I think that played a factor going into that fight. So I think it was obviously a good decision for him to retire after that fight. I mean, I know he was planning on it. Henry Cejudo, thank you for everything you brought to the UFC, making the bantamweight division super fun and the flyweight division, becoming a double champ back in 2019, 2020. Like it was just amazing to see. You had a great run. But props to you. Have a happy retirement. Peyton Talbott, welcome to the top 10, man. But that's crazy to see you in the top 10. And let's give you a top 10 ranked opponent fight, man. Let's see what you're all about. Let's see if you can have a really crazy highlight reel for us and get back into that winning method of getting your KOs. I'm excited to see you in the top 10 in the bantamweight division, a new face that's going to be in that rankings, and I'm excited to see who he should fight or who he gets next. Maybe he gets, I don't know. Let's see who he can get from the bantamweight division. Him and Mario Batista would be cool. I like that one already. Don't think he should fight Figgy. Figgy already has a fight. Marlon Vera would be pretty cool. Zahabi, Peyton Talbott and Zahabi would be a pretty good one. Anyone from that 7 through 9, so like Zahabi, Marlon Vera, or Mario Batista, I feel like would be a great fight for Peyton Talbott. Maybe you give him Rob Font. Like Rob Font's at 12, but I think those are good matches you can give him. So let me know what you guys think about that, and we can go from there. So yeah. That's about it for there. All right, and then what was the fight after that, man? This card was just so stacked. It was just crazy. And then, yeah, Brandon Moreno versus Taira. Talking about that a little bit. I mean, Brandon Moreno just didn't look like himself. I thought he was just going to come out like his old self and just working him to the ground, getting him back up, and then outstriking him on the feet. But Taira just looked way more comfortable. It looked like he had a really great camp and really had Brandon Moreno figured out. And I think Moreno was just not expecting him to be that high level of a fighter. I mean, Taira only has 1 loss, and then Brandon Moreno, I just think he didn't prepare well in his camp. It looks like he got taken down. He got outstruck by almost 50 strikes, and it was just kind of embarrassing. I would be embarrassed if I was him on that, because it just. He's got dominated as such a he's a two-time flyweight champ, and he just gets dominated by Taira. I know Taira's young. He is super, super fit. He's good on all aspects in the game. He's very well balanced, really good on the ground, especially. He finished Brandon Moreno too. He finished him. It was just crazy to see. I was not expecting that. I don't know what you do with Taira here. I think maybe him versus Josh Van makes sense. I think person you've been giving Taira, he's just been beaten. Besides the fight, a couple fights, the one he lost a couple fights ago, but would just be pretty cool to see him and Josh Van fight each other for the belt. I know a lot of people were saying like right away, like give Alexander Pantoja versus Taira to fight again for the number one contender fight. But dude, I mean, Alexander Pantoja is going to be out for a while because I don't know if he dislocated or broke the arm, but I mean that's not easy to come back from, especially just making sure it's healthy, not injuring it again. I think maybe give it to Taira versus Josh Van for the belt next, and then have Pantoja come back and then get his first fight back for the flyweight belt because for how much he did for the division, So I think Taira versus Van makes sense, and then have Pantoja come back, and then he fights whoever wins that fight for the belt, if that makes sense, and we go from there. I think that's what should make sense. Pantoja should just get healthy, recover, get his arm back to normal, and then have Taira Josh Van fight for the belt, and then give Pantoja the winner of that fight for the flyweight championship in like 6 to 8 months, So we'll see how that goes. That's my opinion. Moreno, he just has to go back to the drawing board and maybe just give him another top 7 ranked fight and go from there. There's a lot of guys to work with in the flyweight division. I think that he just needs to know who he should fight. I mean, Brandon Royval and Kape are already fighting. He just lost to Taira, who's ranked number 5. So, and Josh Van just won the belt. He might have to be sitting a little bit, or maybe just give him Steve Erceg. That would be a fun fight, Moreno versus Steve Erceg. But yeah, I'm not really going to touch more base on that, and we'll go from there. So, yep. And then Alexander Pantoja versus Josh Van. Man, that was just a very anticlimactic fight. Also, it was for me the most highly anticipated fight in the flyweight division in a long time, and I was super excited about that. Pantoja was outstrike. He came early. He looked good, and then he just caught it, and then Van just caught Pantoja's leg, tipped him backwards. He fell on his arm wrong, and then it just broke or dislocated. And that was just really, really tough to see. I was really, really starstruck from that. I was super upset. As you guys could see on my TikTok, I was just like, damn, man, like that's really how that fight ended. After it was almost like the Gane versus Aspinall fight. I know not as doing pay-per-view numbers than the Aspinall and Gane fight did, but like I was just as excited for that fight too, and it just ends like Gane and Aspinall. It's just super upsetting to see, and I just couldn't believe that happened to one of my favorite fighters and one of the best flyweights of all time too, in my opinion, and that just sucked, So for Pantoja, just get healthy, please. Make sure your arm is totally 100% ready for your next fight before you come back. Don't try to come back too early. Give Taira the shot for Josh Van, since Josh Van took no damage, and Taira didn't really take any damage either. Have those two fight, and then you come back in 6 to 8 months, fight for the belt, because you deserve to fight for the belt for a rematch because you did so much flyweight. You defended it 4 times. You beat Brandon Moreno to get it in the first place. So, yeah, just have Taira and Josh Van fight for the belt next, in my opinion, and then have Pantoja come back when he's healthy to fight one of those two for the belt, whoever wins. So that's where I stand on that, and that's about it for there. Then Merab versus Peter Yan. I mean, just what a fight. Like, let me know what you guys think about that fight. I thought that was an insane fight. It was just a definition of a warrior fight. It was just so awesome. Easily, earned fight of the night, of course. And Peter Yan just looked great the whole entire fight. Somehow he didn't get out. Somehow Peter Yan did get outstruck. He got outstruck 196 to 159. By almost 40 strikes also. Peter Yan took him down 5 times, bro. He went 5 for 9 on takedowns, and Merab went 2 for 29. I think that's where Merab just lost the fight there, was just getting taken down more. Peter Yan had great reversals too, which was insane, and he dealt damage throughout the whole fight. It was just nuts. Merab outstruck him 40 to 23, which is pretty nuts in the first round. Round 2 outstruck him, but then Peter Yan got a takedown. Round 3, that's where Merab got all of his takedowns was in round 3. He got 2, but did not strike him there, and that's why I think Peter Yan then Peter Yan did get a takedown there, and then he outstruck him by a strike in round 3. So, and then throughout the rest of the fight, Peter Yan just got another takedown in round 4, 2 more in round 5, and then just kept up with the striking. Barely got outstruck, but the takedowns didn't matter, and he dealt damage down there. And I think that was the best version of Peter Yan I've ever seen through my years of watching him in the UFC. He looked great. He kind of figured out Merab's game throughout the fight. He didn't fall for his takedowns. He stuffed his takedowns too. He was comfortable on the feet. He was making Merab getting hurt by his leg kicks to the body. He really dealt so much good body damage to Merab, and I think that's what made Merab get tired. I'm sorry if I said that the opposite way. Peter Yan dealt a ton of damage to Merab's body, and that just slowed Merab down throughout the fight. I think that's why it made him so tired to try to take him down. It looked like he didn't have that energy to take him down in the first place. I know he did pick up Peter Yan, but then he got out of it, and then he was just dealing blows to his body, and it was just slowing Merab down. So it was just pretty nuts to see how that was the game plan to be able to defeat Merab, and it worked perfectly. I don't think Merab was expecting that either. I think Peter Yan had a great camp and scouted him perfectly to be able to beat him. And kudos to you, Peter Yan. It was just nuts to see. I was never expecting that in forever, and it changed my perspective on Peter Yan greatly. And so I don't know what you do next with the bantamweight division. Let me know what you think they should do. In my opinion, Merab was so active. He had 4 title fights in 1 calendar year, and that's just nuts. He did a lot for the bantamweight division, and I feel like I was saying that for the flyweight division, but that's just true. Those guys did. Pantoja and Merab did a ton for their divisions, kept it active, kept it exciting, kept it relevant. So I don't know what you do here. Maybe Peter Yan versus Merab again. I think that's the right thing to do out of respect. And maybe if O'Malley beats Song Yadong in the what is that, at UFC 325, I believe, or 326, one of the two. Maybe the winner of that fights Umar for the number 1 contender fight, and they will fight the winner of Merab versus Peter Yan 3. I know people were saying that Umar should fight Merab for the number 1 contender and then fight Peter Yan. I just don't know if that's fair or not, just because Merab defended his belt for a good amount of time, was super active, did a lot for the bantamweight division, kept it on the map, kept it relevant, and then he just loses one fight. I think that's his first fight he lost before his... That was the first fight he lost in years. I think he lost his first 2 fights in the UFC and then never lost again. And I just don't think you should disrespect someone that did that much for the bantamweight division. And people were saying he was the most dominant champion currently in the UFC. And so if you really believe that and you have the courage to say that and speak about that, I think out of respect and out of dominancy, you should give the rematch back to Merab. I know people don't like to see rematches right away just because you want to see new faces for UFC title fights, but I think that makes the most sense. I wouldn't mind seeing Umar versus Merab either for a number 1 title contender match, but let me know what you guys think there. I think it makes the most sense to do Merab versus Peter Yan, but I could see Umar versus Merab for another match between those two for their number 1 contender match. So I think there's so many different things you can do there. If O'Malley beats Song Yadong, I think that throws O'Malley back in the mix, but he definitely needs to win another fight before fighting for the belt too. But let me know what you guys think should happen there. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got for that end. And I'm super excited for the new Paramount Plus deal for UFC. I'm excited for the new year of UFC 2026. I'm excited for UFC 325. I'm excited for UFC 326. They just announced all the fights there. Dan Hooker's fighting again, which is nuts. There's just so much things to look forward to. I can't wait to not pay for pay-per-views anymore. I'm sure you guys are as well. I'm excited for UFC to be on a new streaming service because, in my opinion, I feel like ESPN did not give UFC enough credit to be talked about throughout their shows that they have on the ESPN platform. You know, they wouldn't talk about it that much. They would talk. They only have like 30-minute segments, barely, when they would even talk about it. Like, they just glaze the NFL and then NBA, and not even talk about college sports that much. But like, you got to focus on other sports, and especially when you have a multi-million-dollar deal with UFC. I just think they weren't given the respect to the UFC when they had that deal, you know. So I'm really happy to see UFC team up with Paramount Plus. I'm excited to start giving my money to them. I'm excited to not pay anything for pay-per-view anymore. I'm excited to just pay my subscription and be able to watch all the UFC fights. So a ton coming there. Let me know what you guys think about the new Paramount Plus deal. I mean, that deal is insane. $7.7 billion is just absolutely nuts. But let me know what you guys think there. I'm excited for the future of the flyweight and bantamweight division. I don't got much else to say, boys. I know there's a UFC fight night this weekend. It's honestly, for me, I don't know that much besides the main event, Brandon Royval versus Kape. If I'll do this for my UFC prediction, and it'll go on my record. I think Brandon Royval will win. I think Kape is just, I think when he gets in the ring, and yeah, he's been on a good winning streak. I think he loses his game plan throughout the fight. I think he will be too big of a hothead this weekend. I think he will forget about his game plan, and I think Brandon Royval is just really good as a stand and bang fighter. The fight will stay on the feet. I think Brandon Royval is just going to win against Kape, and that's just going to be it. There's not much for me to expand on that more. I don't want to overdo that either, and just go from there, honestly. And yeah, if the game stays on the feet with Brandon Royval, I think he'll be comfortable enough to finish him. And the fight's at the Apex, so there's not going to be a lot of fans playing a factor. Royval will be able to listen to his coachings in his corner and really, really go down with a good win against Kape, and then maybe try to fight for the flyweight title in the future. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, and I totally skipped over UFC 324. Really excited about that, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this. Sorry, it's a short one. I'll pop up the UFC. The MK MMA pound for pound rankings, pop them up right here as usual. Really, it changed a lot, boys. It changed a lot this weekend, which is nuts. I was not expecting it to go the way it did, but here we are. I mean, that's just how the fight game works, you know. We got Islam at number 1. We got Ilia Topuria at number 2. We got Alex Pereira at 3. We got Hamza Chimaev at 4. Peter Yan jumped all the way up to 5 because Merab was number 3 on the list for our pound-for-pound rankings. So he definitely gets to jump up to number 5 there. And just for the way he fought. He was super dominant, looked good on the ground. He looked amazing on the feet. He stopped the best wrestler in the bantamweight division who could out-wrestle a lot of other guys, in my opinion, too. Volkanovski at 6. Tom Aspinall at 7. Merab dropped all the way to 8. Unfortunately, but that's just how it works. I kept Josh Van at 9, and here's why. It's just because the fight didn't really go that long. He just tipped. The only thing he did was tip over Pantoja, and then he fell back on his arm and broke his arm. It didn't, and that's just my opinion. And I put Pantoja right behind him at 10 because I think that's fair. You know. I just think that Van needs a lot more to prove as a champ, and he'll keep climbing if he does. But if he doesn't defend his belt successfully on his first title defense, then my point is proven right there, in my opinion. And then we got JDM Alexander at 10. We got JDM at 11, DDP at 12, Holloway at 13, Shavkat at 14, and then Arman at 15. The guys that fell out of the rankings was Evilov and Magomedov Ankalaev. So that's the UFC. God damn, the MMA pound for pound rankings right there for the UFC, and that's pretty much it. Let me guys know what you think about the UFC 323 fight. Let me know what you think is next for the flyweight and bantamweight division. Let me know what you think about UFC 2025 as well, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to try to come out with a next episode of just fights of the year or knockouts of the year as well. Try to have a fun segment there and go from there. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about the Paramount deal as well. If you're excited for UFC 2026 with that Paramount Plus deal. And yeah, man, I'm super excited. What a great year for the UFC again. I can't wait for the future. It's going to be another banger. I think 2026 is going to be way better than 2025. I'm just so excited for all the fights that's to come. And we are going to talk about the White House card in a little bit. There's still just not much to talk about because they're still working out a bunch of things and it's so far away. So we'll go from there, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment, ring that damn bell. And as always, boys, stay tuned. Peace, fellas.